Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm a massive music lover and a record collector from Brussels, and this is my review of this new one by Raye. This music may contain hope. But before I tell you why this album is really amazing, I would like to shed some light on the struggles that Raye had to overcome to reach a stage in her career where she can actually release such an album. And before I dive deeper into this review, please consider subscribing if you would like to see more content like this in the future. It absolutely helps a lot. See, Raye was signed very early on as a teenager to a label that failed her miserably for 7 years and exploited her songwriting talents for the longest time. Those years naturally impacted Raye and had a profound effect on her mental state. That's something that would serve as the foundation to the struggles that are discussed and documented here on the album. By the way, this is Raye's second album and the very first one to ever top the UK albums chart upon release. First off, I would like to give big kudos to the creators of the album art. This is very much like something that the late Storm Thorgerson would have created back in the day. Conceptual, eye-catching, and truly fits the mood of the album. Storm and his agency Hypnosis were responsible for some of the most iconic and legendary album covers throughout the decades, from Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, all the way to Mars Volta and Muse towards the end of his career. Always been a huge fan of their work. Now, having listened to this album for more than 20 times for the last 2 weeks, here are my big takeaways. First, I find it really amusing that Raye has some Swiss ancestry from her mom's side, while on this record, she herself is acting like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to the writing, singing, and production on the whole record. She has truly poured herself into every aspect of the creation of the album. So it comes as no surprise that this is a very personal album for her, and it deals with a lot of mental health struggles and having hardships in life. Raye has taken a very much maximalist approach here. So we have a lot of orchestrations, engaging instrumental palettes, and layers of sonic trickery, all the way to autotune that's used sparingly here and there, but it just works. This album is quite a long one with 70 tracks and a playtime that exceeds the hour. And while this might make some accuse her of overindulgence, I don't fall into that camp at all. This is her album and she's free to do whatever she feels like creatively. She has earned this right more than most people at this stage. The crowning jewel here is Raye's vocals that blur the lines between belting, singing, and rapping. It's smooth and velvety, and her delivery is so fluid to the point that you sometimes have to listen to certain parts with the lyrics at hand to fully appreciate what she's saying. Raye truly embraces her role as a storyteller. There's a strong narrative side here, whether it's in the interludes or throughout the songs themselves. It sure feels like Raye has a lot to tell with each song, but also throughout the runtime of the album as we go through the 4 seasons. There's a very strong and pervading sense of change and progression. It's worth mentioning that this album includes some unexpected guest appearances, the biggest of which is Hans Zimmer. And then you have Ola Queen, Raye's sisters, and even her grandparents. Speaking of Hans, he's featured on the biggest musical gem here, which is Click Clack Symphony, the second single. This song is so atypical and so insanely detailed musically, lyrically, and vocally that I have listened to it at least 50 times since its release, so that I'm able to fully appreciate the true beauty at the core of it. The music video also has some insane cinematography, and it's an absolute must-watch if you haven't seen it already. This is not only one of the very best songs of the whole century in my opinion, but it also reminds me of Bohemian Rhapsody and how impactful it was when it was released back in the day. I can wax poetic about this song for hours, so I think it's best to move on. So the other big single is Where's My Husband, that was a massive commercial success when it was released last year. Almost anyone under the sun has heard of it at least once by now. Other notable highlights I would highly recommend listening to are I Will Overcome, Nightingale Lane, Skin and Bones, The What's of Shakespeare. Despite its grandeur and mostly upbeat instrumentals, the overarching feeling here is mostly of sadness and heartbreak, but also one of hope and belief. There's an immense sense of hope that things will eventually work out and that better days are still ahead. Listening to this album reminded me of two landmark albums that came out in the previous decades. The first one is Beyoncé's Lemonade, because of its incredibly personal and conceptual nature. And the second one is Christina Aguilera's Back to Basics, for its throwback retro flavors. That album was such a big throwback to a bygone era in the mid-noughties and made Aguilera stand out. This is an album that I highly recommend listening to if you're looking for quality music that's deep and rewards repeated listens. I'm still discovering a lot of new details and layers here and there with every new spin. In a world where most mainstream music is focused on championing superficiality, egos, and bragging about this and that, it's so refreshing to see someone like Raye sing about her mental struggles and the reality of having a complicated life, whether it's because of internal or external factors. But what amazes me most of all is her resilience and the belief that things will eventually be okay in the end. And if that kind of strength and talent don't pull you in, then I don't know what will. I rate this album a 9.5 over 10. Yeah, it comes this close to perfection for me. And I have a strong feeling that this is the kind of album that we'll be talking about 10, 20 years into the future. That's all for now. Thanks a lot for watching. And if you made it this far and would like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing. It really helps a lot. Cheers! See you in the next one.